All right. First question. Who are you and what is this campaign about?
Well, my name is Karina Garcia. I'm running for Vice President of these United States of America. I'm running with my comrade Claudia de la Cruz. We're running with the Party for Socialism and Liberation nationally, and here in California for the Peace and Freedom Party.
Wonderful. All right. In your opinion, what is the biggest issue of this election season?
Wow, there's so many. It's housing is completely unaffordable in so many parts of the country. The fact is that we're being squeezed in every which way because the corporations and Wall Street have control over the price of food, the price of insurance, the price of housing, the price of healthcare. And so it's hard to pick one because what we're really missing is economic power, you know? And so how is it that millions of people around the country, in the richest country in the world, are half the population is living in poverty. People are living paycheck to paycheck. And even though the vast majority of people want universal health care, want to abolish student debt, want to have, more funding for schools, none of that happens. And cycle after cycle, the Republicans and the Democrats play good cop, bad cop with our communities. And in fact, the American people have no impact. Like, this is not me being exaggerating. This is like Princeton University did a study where they looked at the democracy, the so-called democracy of the United States. And what they found is that public opinion has near zero impact on law in this country. However, the opinions of the richest 10% of the population, if they're for something, it's going to pass. If they're against something, it's not going to pass. But the bottom 90% of the population have no impact on public law. That's the so-called democracy that we live in, which, if we're honest, is actually just a dictatorship of the rich.
What do you hope to accomplish with this campaign?
We want to unite the organizers and fighters of the working class and there are many, that are organizing around housing, around climate justice, around healthcare, around student debt, against police brutality, but they're all organizing separately. We want to bring those struggles together under one program, a socialist program, so that we not only have the power to tax the rich, it's not about taxing the rich, we want them out of power entirely. The only people who can represent working class interests are working class people. And for that to actually happen, we need power. So we're building a movement. We're not here just to ask for people's votes every 4 years. We're here trying to build a social movement, which is the only thing that's ever secured any of our rights in this country, right? From ending child labor to the 8-hour workday to ending segregation, all of which are coming back now. The only way we're going to be able to stop that is getting organized. So this campaign is about organizing all of those people who are fighting on all these different fronts of struggle and uniting them under one banner.
So, how does your campaign, along with Claudia, of course, differ from other leftist campaigns like Jill Stein or Cornel West?
Well, I think we're not running against Jill Stein or Cornel West. We're running against capitalism. And our campaign is unique in that we are running an openly socialist, proudly socialist campaign. We're saying we need to end capitalism before it ends us. And we're trying to bring together all of these organizers around the country who are fighting along all these different fronts of struggle and fight together, right? And to build something that actually lasts. That's not about what you do every 4 years, but what about you do every day. So we think there should be many more candidates, left-wing candidates in this country. There's not, and we know how difficult it is, how many barriers they put so that only the rich have representation in this country. And the campaign, we're not funded by billionaires. We don't have billionaire friends, but we have dedicated activists, people who've been fighting for immigrant rights, who've been fighting for workers' rights, for women's rights, for LGBTQ liberation. And our campaign is about really bringing those people together and fighting for a full program and proudly saying what it is that we're for, not just what we're against. We're against capitalism. We're against imperialism. We're against racism. We're for socialism and giving definition and meaning to what that is. It's not just about taxing the rich. It's about the working class having power and making decisions, making plans, and having control over the economy. Right now, The CEOs and the boardrooms, they make all the decisions that matter in society. We don't get consulted in any of it. Are we allowed to vote for the price of rent? Do we get to vote on whether our communities are going to be gentrified, if we're going to be displaced? We don't get to vote for anything that really matters, even if we're for higher minimum wage. The CEOs are the ones who make all the decisions in society. So it's a campaign that's not short sighted. It really is about getting to the root of the problem, which is capitalism, and that the only way to actually overcome this is to build a socialist movement with our own program and our own demands.
What is your plan to bring progressive policies to the US?
Social movement. We have to build political power in our communities with our class and with our own vision for what it is that we're fighting for. A lot of time, the Democratic Party show up. They come to the demonstrations that working people organize. Working people do all of the work to bring people out. And in between the elections, working people are the ones who are helping our community survive. But the Democrats show up and they pretend to be the voice of our people. And they also impose their solutions, the band-aids and the crumbs that is what the Democratic Party establishment and the Republican Party establishment want for us, what they think that we deserve. And so we need to have our own voice. We need to have our own political project. And if we don't actually step forward and say what it is that we want, then they're going to come up and tell us what they think we can deserve, right? And it's not enough. And we don't have time to waste going back and forth between two parties who don't care about us and who don't represent us.
If you could say one thing to Joe Biden, what would it be?
You know, Joe Biden, Genocide Joe, he's really not worth. What do you say to someone who is responsible for the death of tens of thousands of families? And for the last 6 months, we've been watching how they're starving the Palestinian people. What do you say to somebody like that? I have nothing to say to somebody like that. I guess we're coming. You know, where we see who you are. We're not fooled. But it's honestly, it's who cares about Joe Biden? Joe Biden is nothing. We're talking to our people and saying, let's get together, let's get organized. We don't have to waste our lives making excuses for these politicians. We've seen who they are. We know who they are. Let's stop. Let's do our own thing.
I guess that answers my next question, but I'll ask it anyways. If you could say one thing to Donald Trump, what would it be?
Donald Trump, this clown. Fuck Donald Trump. I don't have nothing to say to his ass, but whatever.
Okay. So why should people support you over Democrats or Republicans?
It's not about supporting me. It's about being part of a struggle, an organized struggle, about committing to something, right? We have millions of people now who are voting uncommitted, or hundreds of thousands at this point. Millions of people who actually are not voting at all. We're saying we can do more than that. Like, you can vote uncommitted right now, but you can become committed to a political project that can actually transform your life and the life of your children. That's something that's actually worth fighting for. We can't expect anything different from either party because it's been decade after decade and they do the same thing. And we just have to be honest about it. And if we don't build our own vehicles, our own organizations to turn that around, nobody's going to do it for us. So it's an invitation to them to join an organized struggle, to be part of a movement, to not allow themselves to be isolated, to be alienated, to disengage. We understand that the system is set up for all of those things. It's set up to try to make you feel small. And in fact, they would rather you be apathetic than be hopeful and organized. And so our call to them is to join, to invite them to be part of something that's more powerful than anything you can do with either of those two parties.
Do you think that you can win this election?
I think that the people can do anything. The organized struggle of the people has no bounds. I think what we are trying to do is bring people together, have our own voice, our own program, and build organization. And we're doing that. We're winning. Every time we have more people with us who are organized, who are speaking for themselves, and who are taking up the responsibility of changing this society, we won. So for us, it's not about this or that election. It's about building a movement and uniting all of the people who really deserve much better than we're getting from either party.
What would you say to people who think that your candidacy spoils the election towards Donald Trump?
um, what do I say to those people? We have no interest in wasting our time, throwing our support behind people who don't care about us. We don't owe them anything. What we owe to ourselves and to our families is to build an alternative. And that's what we're doing.
Wonderful. Okay, lastly, where can people learn more about your campaign?
They can learn more about our campaign by visiting our website, votesocialist2024.com. They can check us out on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, and we invite them to read and learn about our campaign, learn about our organization, our party, the Party for Socialism and Liberation. We have pslweb.org, Liberation News, Liberation Education, so many ways for people to join organized struggle, to learn more about the struggles that are impacting them and what we can do to fight for an alternative right now.
Is there anything else you'd like to leave off on?
Thank you. Thank you for coming and covering our event, and we hope to see you again.
Wonderful.